Have you ever met someone who seems made of stone? Those who, while the world around them cries, laughs or despair, remain with their expression unchanged, as if they were watching everything from behind thick glass. It's not that they don't feel it, it's that they don't show it. And that, for outsiders, can be as fascinating as it is disturbing. Because how can you trust someone who doesn't reveal what they feel? How can you love someone who doesn't seem to be moved? The truth is that behind this mask of indifference, there is a universe of reasons that few take the trouble to understand. Before judging, it must be said, there is nothing wrong with not expressing emotions. Not everyone needs to cry in public, smile at every joke, or frown at every mishap. Some simply process things internally, like a deep ocean whose currents are only visible to those who dive. But when this restraint becomes a pattern, when the person seems almost robotic in their neutrality, it's a sign that something more complex is at play. Maybe a survival story. Perhaps a self-protection strategy so ingrained that it no longer seems like a choice. Imagine a child who learned early that tears did not bring comfort, that screams were not heard, that smiles were not reciprocated. What does a heart do in these conditions? He closes down. Not out of coldness, but out of instinct. If crying was no use, why cry? If anger only made things worse, why show it? Over time, the brain understands, emotions are vulnerabilities, and in a world that doesn't know how to deal with them, the best defense is invisibility. It's as if the emotional system has permanent airplane mode. Everything continues to work inside, but nothing is transmitted to the outside. And so, what started as a necessary adaptation becomes a habit, then an armor, and finally, an identity. These people tend to be born observers. While others act, they analyze. While others talk, they listen. It's not that they don't feel empathy. Often, they feel too much of it, but expressing it would be like opening a door to a world that has disappointed them before. So, they keep everything. Anger turns to silence. Sadness, a distant look. Joy, a slight sparkle in the eyes that only those who know you well can perceive. And so, without meaning to, they create a mystery around them that attracts and pushes away at the same time. Because how can you get close to someone who seems unreachable? But here's the paradox, that same containment that protects them also isolates them. After all, how can you build bonds when no one knows how you feel? How can you receive support if you never show that you need it? These people are often labeled as cold, distant, or even selfish, when in fact they are just trapped in their own fortress. They don't know how to go out without feeling exposed. And worse, after being locked up for so long, some even forget what it's like to live without walls. However, there is a beauty in this way of being. Because those who learn to live without depending on other people's validation develop a rare inner strength. These people are not moved by applause or shaken by criticism. They don't need an audience to feel complete. Their peace is not in the hands of others, it is within them, still, deep, unshakable. In a world screaming for attention, they are islands of calm. And that, in itself, is a superpower. If you recognize yourself in these words, no, you are not a robot. It is neither insensitive nor defective. You just learned to navigate life in a way that many wouldn't understand. And if today your emotions are like underground rivers, that doesn't mean they don't exist, just that they chose to run in silence. But allow yourself, little by little, to let some waters come to the surface. Not out of obligation, but because even the strongest fortresses need windows. And who knows, one day, you'll discover that showing what you feel is not a weakness, but the courage to be human. And if you live with someone like that, don't worry. Ista. Their indifference isn't a lack of affection, it's a lack of practice. One day, perhaps in a small, almost imperceptible gesture, you will see a crack in the armor. And it will be at that moment, precisely when they least expect it, that you will understand, behind the stone, there was always a heart. Hitting hard. Just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. If this reflection made sense to you, comment here. Are you like this too, or do you know someone like this? Share with those who need to understand that calm is not the absence of feeling. And if you want more texts that explore the labyrinths of the human mind, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Until next time, and remember, sometimes, what is not said is precisely what matters most. The silence that speaks louder than words. What if I told you that the quietest people are often the ones with the most to say? I'm not talking about those who remain silent out of shyness, but those whose silence is a strategic refuge, a place where emotions don't need to justify themselves, where thoughts mature away from the noise of the world. They are not absent, they are preserving the essence of what they feel before handing it over to the judgment of others. Think about it. In an era of instant opinions and emotions in 280 characters, choosing silence is an act of rebellion. It's not empty, it's space. It's not indifference, it's selectivity. They are not ignorant of the world, filter what deserves your energy. And when they finally speak, their words carry the weight of everything that hasn't been said before, like a river that, after running underground, emerges with enough force to move mountains. But here's the paradox. Those who need this silence most are precisely those who suffer most from it. Because society confuses reserve with coldness, introspection with disinterest, and patience with detachment. They hear, over and over, that they are difficult to read, distant, complicated. As if depth were a defect. As if preferring quality over quantity were a crime. They know deep down that the world is not ready for their intensity. Because when you feel things with a depth that others can't even imagine, any words seem insufficient. How to explain a storm with a sigh? How to summarize an ocean in a glass of water? So, they keep it. Not out of fear, but out of respect for what they carry. Because some things are so big that they only fit in silence. If this is you, know, your silence is not a barrier, it is an invitation. Not for everyone, only for those who have the patience to wait and the sensitivity to hear what is not said. And when that someone appears, you will recognize them immediately. They will be the person who, instead of demanding that you speak, will sit next to you and wait, in silence, until you are ready. Because the deepest souls don't connect through words. They recognize each other by the rhythm of silences. And you? Have you ever felt misunderstood because you are this way, or have you ever loved someone who seems like a book written in a language only you understand? Comment here, or don't comment, we understand winking face. If this text resonated with you, share it with anyone who needs to read it. And if you want more reflections that reveal what we don't say, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Until next time, and remember, sometimes, what screams most inside us is precisely what we choose not to say. Milky Way.